Hi everybody, I'm Pam Watson and I'm going to be the teacher for the Misti Washington felting project, a felting bowl. So this is what we're talking about, the size of a felted bowl. Now this is what we're starting because you're learning. It can go to this kind of level with embellishments. And it can go eventually to this kind of level. So it goes a long way, but you're going to start off, okay? We're going to start off with the basics of wet felting. The reason I'm having you watch this today is I believe it's a really important thing when you're going to teach something that you pre-teach, that you allow students who maybe have never delved into this at all. Maybe you have, so this is repetitive, but maybe this is new. And if you can come into a class with a little bit of knowledge, it just makes it easier for you to take the class because you're just not ruminating about, well, what I don't know or how do I do this. So this is why I ask you to watch this on my YouTube channel to get an idea of what's going to happen. Also, please feel free to look through my channel. I've got some things that I teach there. There's some wet felting. I'm actually showing myself doing it or other people doing it. So that's good to watch. Now, please understand that I evolve. What might have been in a 2-year-old video, I'm doing a little differently today. So, not etched in stone. Part of what we do in art is we learn, we evolve, we develop new ideas. And I'm not going to take those videos down because they have merit in what they're showing. It's just that I may not teach it that way. And if you took my class last time, I'm not teaching it the same because I have evolved. I'm trying different ways, things that would be better. So this is your introduction. Now, felting there can be dry felting and there's wet felting. This class is called wet felting. It's a really good introduction. I really feel people should start with wet felting before they do dry. I know that seems strange, but that's what I think that they should do. So let's talk about, I'm going to talk about the supplies so you know what to bring. I'm going to ask you, please don't bring extras. Please don't bring a great big huge purse unless you know you have to put it underneath the table, because we are going to have your table in front of you, free for you to use. From in front of you all the way forward. It's going to be this way. And it's going to be wet. And we have to keep the dry wool separate from the wet. So you can't have a lot of things on the table. You really can't. So you're going to be putting it under the table. So please remember that whatever you bring has to go by your feet. You can't be putting it on the table. I'm going to check. Everybody on the table is only going to have the things we're going to work with because it makes it way too hard. So when I show you things to bring, please don't bring bigger or extra or whatever, okay? Some of you, if you've taken the class before, want to bring some extra wool, that's fine, but keep it below the table until you're ready to work with it. Okay, so let's start off with what you're going to need. Bath towels. Now, you actually can't harm them. You're only using them with soap. But these are my older ones. Just 2 regular sized bath towels. They can be your junky ones, of course, but you're only going to be putting soap and water on them. But 2, because they're going to get wet, you may want to, trade it out. Then some type of a hand towel. It can be a dish towel. It can be whatever for your hands. And you could bring 2 of these. You don't have to bring 1. I just want you to have enough because you have to keep your hands dry between working with the wet wool and touching the dry wool. You have to keep your hands dry. And after we get into the wet felting, not so easy, okay? So that's primary. The other thing, now I'm going to be supplying the soap, but if you absolutely feel you want to bring it, this is like 11 ounces. Please don't bring anything much bigger than that so you don't have very much on your table. And not foaming, not Dawn from your dishes, for your hand soap of some kind. I'm going to have it, don't worry about it, but if you want to, keep it small, could even be smaller. If you really want to have your soap right there, you can do that. So you can bring yourself that. If you want to bring a wooden spoon from cooking, that you can just use the handle, because we're going to do some wrapping. You could bring a wooden spoon handle. Talking about just like a end of a wooden spoon, and a chopstick would be nice. the thing I need you to bring is a spray bottle. Now this is about as large as you want to go. It could even go smaller, because remember, it's going to be on your tabletop. I don't know how many ounces this one is, but it's the standard that you get in the house. You can go this, but if you can go smaller, that would be better, just because you're going to be holding it. This is kind of heavy, so you might want a smaller one, but you want maybe a just a spray, but you want a spray bottle. Vital, 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 vital. So a spray bottle, and another vital thing, which I'm not supplying. You need a pair of scissors, not the cute little fancy bird ones. This is an embroidery scissor. If you have an embroidery scissor, that's your answer. But you need something with a very sharp-ended point. It can be a larger pair of scissors, but it has to have a sharp point, because what you're going to be doing is you're going to be making a circle impression, and then you're going to go through this and you're going to cut your center. And you can't do that with blunted scissors, okay? So I want you, and make sure they're sharp, nothing dull. So that's the one real critical thing. Really pointy scissors. Like I said, embroidery scissors work well, but it just has to be pointy, because you're going to be poking it through and cutting it. So those are the things that you're going to bring. Now let's talk about what I'm supplying and what you're going to be seeing when you get here. When you get to your table and you pick up your bag, you're going to have your things in a bag. Go to your table, sit down, and please immediately take out your towel, long ways, with most of it in your lap. Lay it out in front of you. So you're going to lay it out in front of you. You don't really need to see me doing this, but just lay it out in front of you. So you're going to have, I'll tip it so you can see it, but you really don't. You're just doing that. It's not critical. So that when I start the class, we don't have to start from the basics. I kind of know you've seen my video if I see you doing this. So what you're going to do is you're going to get this out. You're going to get your hand towel, and you're going to put it maybe to your right or to your left, somewhere right near you, or some people put it around their neck, just so you can wipe, okay? So you're ready to wipe, okay? And then in your bag, you're going to have bubble wrap. I'm going to be giving you 2 sheets of bubble wrap, okay? 2 separate sheets of bubble wrap. And they have bubble wrap has a flat side, and bubble wrap has a bubbly side. And I'll be telling you which side is going to be facing the felt at different times in the process. But when we start off, your bottom sheet is going to be facing up. So your bottom sheet is going to be facing with the bubbles up. And so we're going to talk about, we're going to lay that out. So you're going to have your towel, and then I'm going to have you lay out your bubble wrap. Right? And then you're going to have something called a resist. I'm probably going to give you a sheet that hasn't been cut so that you have an extra one in your kit. And then I'm going to have cut one out, because there's no sense in wasting class time. You certainly know how to cut out a circle. Then you don't have to have a second set of scissors, because you certainly don't want to use your little embroidery scissors to cut this out, or the pointy scissors. So you're going to have, it's very spongy. Cosplay people use this to make armor that's light. It's called a resist, and resist can be as light as this. Sometimes, you get this sometimes for dishes when you want to put them between, when you're traveling. It's a little foam sort. And this could be used. I do use it as a resist. I'm not asking you to use it in our class because it's so thin that it could fold up on itself. Until you're better at this, I use this for other things. So this is a little bit heavier. You can kind of feel the ridge. It's going to stay in place, yet it's very able to be removed, because I want you to understand something. What you are working on is you are working on this flat, like this. That's what you're making. You're making this circle flat. And this has to go in between, or it will felt on itself. So this, believe it or not, is in here, and it's sitting inside, and then you're going to be putting wool on this side and wool on this side over the edges, and then this doesn't let it felt to itself, right? It's a resist. And then when we're done what we're doing, you cut your hole and you pull out the resist, because you see it's not in there anymore. And it's the same thing with this. This started out with a gigantic resist in there. It was flat. Then we cut a bigger hole, pulled it out, and began more of our processing. So this is a resist, and you're going to have one of these plus an extra sheet. So we're going to be putting that down. So that's another thing that's going to be in there is your resist. So look for it in your bag. The other thing, the other things that are going to be there that we're going to talk about using, and I'll show you in a minute, are going to be a pool noodle and a bamboo mat and some ties. So I'll go over that as I show you. So that's what you're going to have. Then what you're going to have, obviously, is you're going to have your wool. You're going to have 2 1 ounces of 2 different colors from Living Felt. They look like this, okay? Don't get them wet. We don't get them wet till we're ready to get them wet. So you're going to have 1 ounce and 1 ounce of 2 different colors. I don't know what you've ordered. And then you're going to have a 1/2 ounce of Decadence. Decadence is phenomenal. Decadence is a combination of silk and the roving. And you're going to have whatever is going to match what you've ordered. And I'm giving you 1/2 ounce because you don't really need the full ounce for this project. But it's going to be worked on our final embellishment layer. And it's going to help hold things down. That's what I've changed in my teaching. I've added this extra. Used to be just 2. Now it's going to be an ounce, and a 1/2 ounce. The whole bowl is a 2 ounce bowl. So you're going to use all of this to make this bowl is 2 ounces of 2 colors. But you need some extra, so we're going to have 1/2 ounce of this. So that's going to be the wool that you're getting, okay? And that's what we're going to be working with. And I want to show you, if those of you who have not seen it, it's going to look like this. And I'm going to be asking you to divide it because we're going to be working on one side and another side, right? We want to put an ounce on one side and an ounce on the other. Well, how are we going to know that? How do we know? Well, if this is a 1 ounce, right? If this is 1 ounce, then we pretty much know that if you fold it in half, that's half, isn't it? That is half. And we could cut this with a scissor, but the better thing is just to find your half, you hold it far apart on each of the sides, and you pull it. You get it far enough apart, because there's fibers. Roving has fibers. They run this way. They only are a certain length. Once you get beyond that length, it'll pull apart. If you're too close, it won't pull apart. But as you get further and further, it'll start there. It pulled apart. See? I got far enough apart. I pulled it. This is very important because you're going to do this process all day long. So now that I've done that, I now have a 1/2 ounce. I know it's a 1/2 ounce. I know this other one is a 1/2 ounce. So I'm going to fold this one back up because I know that I'm going to use that on the other side, right? Because I want to end up with a 2 ounce bowl. So I have 1/2 ounce, okay? But it's a 2 color bowl, right? So I'm going to have to take another one, put it in half so that on this side I have 2 colors, 1/2 ounce each, which equals 1 ounce, right? And I'll do that for the other side. So we're going to do that in class. We're going to make sure that we have those. But then we're going to keep them separate from the water, right? We're not going to get them wet. And the other thing you're going to have in your bag, by the way, is you're going to have a charm pack. But don't open it. You're going to get into it towards the end, okay? So we'll leave some secrets for the teaching, right? So that's another thing you have in there. Plus you have a bag of balloons, some shoelaces, some clips, and probably a small, definitely a little small soap. Okay, so that's going to be there also. And of course, your pool noodles and your bamboo mat. That is what we're going to be. We'll start the class off. We're dividing everything up. We're separating it. And then you're going to start to put this onto this resist. Now, I'm not going to show that. You can look at my videos. You'll see people doing it. I'm going to teach that in class. So I'm not doing that in this video. But suffices to say, we're going to be taking, and we're going to be putting it on here, okay? when we're done, we're going to wet it. Okay, so we're gonna, or maybe while we're doing wet, right? We're gonna wet it with a very, very soapy mixture. So I'm going to talk about how we're gonna, you just put enough soap in there that it's real soapy. There's not an amount, more than 50%. Sometimes we can even do it straight with the bar, right? Straight soap. So you want it to be very, very sudsy. So that's what we're gonna put the liquid into here. And we'll talk about that at the beginning of class. So we've got it down. I'm teaching you how to put it on here, right? And then we're gonna get to the, you're laying it, and then you're gonna flip it over. We're gonna lay it on the other side. We're gonna do 3 layers. We're gonna do the 2 base layers, which are going to equal the, so that each side has 1 ounce. And then we're gonna get to the 3rd layer, which is going to be all embellishments. It's gonna be all embellishing. It's going to be the part that makes it look decorated, okay? And we're gonna be using the decadence also for that. So that's the 3rd layer. And then when we're all done, we are going to agitate it. We're going to get it ready. Okay, now, I am not asking you to have this, but if you would like to have it, you can order one of these off of Amazon. I don't know if there's time now before the class starts or not, but you don't have to. I use it because I have a little, sometimes I want to give my hands a little bit of a rest. But I don't, when I use something, I want you to know what it is I'm using. But you do not need it as a beginner. It's a little pricey, so you don't have to worry about it. I just want you to know what you see in my hands. So you're not going, what is she holding? What is she holding? So then at some point, I'm going to be saying, okay, we are going to either use the bamboo mat or we're going to use the pool noodle, okay? And we're going to be wrapping it up. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be folding this together. There. So what I've done, let me show it to you. I'm going to dip this camera so you can see it. Not really that. It's just like that, okay? So you're just folding it. And then, and you've got all of your beautiful wool is in between here. It'll make sense to you when it gets there. And then let's say we're going to do the pool noodle. We're going to then take the pool noodle and we're going to roll it in this. See how I'm going to do that? I'm going to make it very tight and I'm going to roll it. See that? I'm going to roll it. Roll it. See how it's rolled? And then I'm going to take my towel and I'm going to pull it up off of my lap. I'm going to stick this in here and I'm going to begin to roll it very, very tightly. A Tootsie Roll, right? We're going to be, or a burrito. Sometimes we call it a burrito. I guess you got a burrito, okay? And then I have given you some shoelaces, which you can tie it on each end, which I'm going to recommend in the beginning until you get more control. I don't necessarily need it, but now you'll either have a pool noodle in here or you will have a bamboo mat. You won't normally have both of them. And this is going to give you add surface, okay? This really gives you surface. So once you've got this, you can see what you've got. And then you're going to start doing some agitation. Now, I'll show you in class how to do it. No sense. And you can look on my videos and you will see other people doing it. It's sort of when they get their wrist and they go back and they go forward. And they do it. We do it in, I forget if we do it in 10 or 15 minute increments. I haven't decided which increments. I think it's going to be 10. And then we open it up and we switch it a quarter turn and we do it again and we quarter. So that eventually when we are doing, when we're doing the disc part of it, we are going to turn it 4 times so that we're going to agitate it in all the quarters. And then we flip it over and do it on the other side. Because when you are felting, it takes water and soap and agitation. You can't leave any of those out. My last class, the students left off the soap and it did not felt. The first 2 layers felted because they used soap, but the 3rd layer didn't. So you have to have a lot of soap. You have to have water. But if you say, I don't want to agitate, I really don't want to agitate, it won't do it. So agitation is important. Now, there's going to be some shortcuts I can talk to you about later on. In the class, I'll talk to you about what you can do once you go home with my project. But in class, we're going to do it. And then if you want to refelt some more, I have some ways to get around it, right? So I guess they call them hacks, right? So this is the burrito. This is what we're doing, and that's the class. Then when we're all done with all the agitations, we open it up and we check that it's felting. We check that it's beginning to felt. And then we will then do our embellishment layer, put all the beautiful on it, agitate it, get it all felted, and then we will be putting down if you have I'm going to bring some plastic caps, but if you have a little plastic cap you want to bring, I guess you could. Not very big. The reason is this was just a medicine, the top to a pill bottle. It expands. After you cut it, it expands. So I'm keeping it really small in the beginning. If you want really big, it can get massive on you. So we'll talk about that before you go, doing it. Then what I'm going to be having you do, after we've done all that, we then have to do the felling process. And that is, you're going to be taking a balloon, you're going to stick it into your hole, but remember this is going to be wet and soggy. So you're going to blow it up. And see how it pushes it out? It's going to give it your shape. And then you're going to really, I don't want you to tie it off, because if you tie it off, you've lost the balloon. And we have to go in and out with the balloon. So I gave you some clips. And of course, they will give away. They will not stay. After a time, they come loose. But for a while, they stay. And that's good enough for now. Because you can just keep blowing it back up again. It lasts long enough. And then you have it in here, and then you can rub it with it inflated. And then, of course, you can do the things where you're wrapping it with your whatever you want to hit it with, throwing it down. We're going to be doing the felling process. So that's what this balloon is going to do, and it's going to push it out. And you're going to see that when you do it, you do have some wrinkles. I like them. I think they're part of what makes this really interesting. If you don't, you can work it out when you get home. I can show you how to do it. You can just keep felling it until it's gone, okay? So we're going to be doing that in class. This takes the whole time. This is going to be a long process. And then you're going to rinse it with hot and cold water. Now, the first time, I forgot to mention to you, when we first do the first set of water, we don't do cold water. Wool has barbs on it. You want that barb open. Cold water closes everything. But hot water will make your felting happen too quickly, and you're not ready for that. So scalding hot's not a good idea. Cold is not a good idea. So we're going to add a little warm water to make it at least room temperature a little warmer. So you don't start off with ice cold water. Then when you're done with this part, we're going to put it, rinse it out. At this point, if you're home, you can do hot water, cold water, and you can continue the felting process. Then you blow the balloon up, you put it somewhere, and it dries. Then you make the decision if you want to keep it soft or you want to add a little stiffener, which when we do this bigger one, we add stiffener so that it will stay upright. And that's done with 50/50 Elmer's glue, just painted on there, or stiffy, or whatever you want to do that. That you would be doing at home. We're not going to be doing that in class. The class is going to be taking just wool and wet felting the process into this small bowl. Then it extrapolates to bigger. You just make your resist bigger, or whatever shape you want to make it in. You make a bigger resist, and then you make a bigger whatever it is. And of course, it can be different shapes. I don't have my hat to show you because it's at the Orange County Fair, but you can make hats, you can make purses, you can make a lot of things with this. But this is what we're starting with. We're starting with the basics. And I wanted you to see what all the tools were going to be that you're going to be getting, that you're going to work with. Now, the reason I gave you the bar soap is, even though I know there's soap in here, is sometimes when we're doing the last layer of embellishing, we really want our hands really soapy, which you can spray, of course, your hands. But sometimes I like to have a bar of soap. I go like this because I want my hands very slick. Also, I may want to put straight soap onto that final embellishment layer, really to get a lot of soap in there, because soap, water, agitation, remember? And sometimes the embellishments are a little bit testy. So we're going to find ways to get them to stay down, okay? You can see sometimes I leave them very fluffy, and sometimes you really want them to stay down. For instance, I think I can show you this. See how this is way up out of it? It's very bumpy, coming very bumpy. But then you can take the same thing and you can get it to go way down in. See, very in, but then you can leave it bumpy. You can decide how much you want to get that to go down in there. Once you've learned, you'll know how to do it. So that's the class. It's fun. It's like being back in kindergarten, first grade, and you get to play with water. I mean, come on. And if it's warm out, water's great, right? So it's really fun. If you've never done, well, the first time I did it, I went, oh my God. And I had started with dry felting. And then I realized, wait a minute. I want to try this welt felting. I do both, and I do compete with it. Not so much anymore because I judge, but I do. And I enjoy it. And you can do many, many things with this. Maybe 20 years ago, this was a rage. And then it began to fade out about 10 years ago. And now I think it's coming back in because I'm hearing there's no teachers out there because, of course, they all got old and stopped. But it's coming back. It's coming back. People are finding that working with felt and wool is a wonderful media to work in. So you are so fortunate. I'm glad you made my class. You are going to have a life experience. I insist that we have a good time and we don't worry about how the progress you made. If you're slower, it doesn't matter. And one of the things I tell everybody is there really isn't any failures because I can get it back for you. Even if we think it's a failure, I can usually figure it out and you can take this back, wash it, redo it. So we can really make it work. So that's the beauty of something you're learning new is that you really can't put something on it like a bunch of paint and go, oh my God, I put a big dollop of paint, it's ruined. No, it's not going to be like that. If you didn't like an embellishment, you can pull it off. For a long time, you can pull it off. So that lowers your angst level, right? That you're not going to make mistakes that we can't fix. And it's just a jumping off point for working with felt. And of course, this class is the Basketry Guild, so you can do this as basketry. You could do this in conjunction with reeds also. This can be a mixture. I like mixed media. I put this on gourds. You know that I'm a gourder. But I also am what I consider myself a fiber artist now and mixed media. And so let's have fun at the class. I can't wait to have you all there. I'm very excited. So see you on Sunday. Bye-bye.